Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Opinion Machine, the show where we talk about all things gaming. My name is Killjoy, and today we're going to be talking about the Microsoft acquisition of Activision Blizzard, and the good and the bad, essentially. So, yeah, if you've been living under a rock the last couple of days, you may not have known this, but Microsoft has now acquired Activision Blizzard for, I think it's like 68.1 billion, essentially almost 70 billion. 70 billion, that's huge. It's now the biggest gaming acquisition in gaming. It's kind of crazy. Now, I'm recording this early Thursday morning, so I do apologise for the look. Looking quite scruffy, just rolled out of bed. But yeah, I need to talk about this. I need to get my thoughts out into a video format and give you guys my thoughts on it. Now, the big three, Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony. Obviously, back in the day it would have been Sega, but these are the guys that basically have their own consoles right now. Now, we all know, or most people know, that Nintendo have a huge, rich history of characters and video game characters that people know, like franchises like Mario, Zelda, Pokemon, Kirby, and then your lesser-known ones like Advance Wars, Fire Emblem, all this sort of stuff, right? So Nintendo have been, for many, many years, people love... Smash Bros. Is a perfect example of this, right? That game, people love that game because of all these really rich history characters. Sony also has, God of War, Horizon, back in the day Crash Bandicoot, back in the day Spyro, Jak and Dexter, Ratchet and Clank. These, again, lovable characters. Not quite as old as a lot of the Nintendo ones, but very popular. God of War's hugely popular. Horizon's much more of a modern one, And they've got these characters that people like. And Microsoft has always kind of had, Master Chief and Marcus Phoenix from Gears of War. That was kind of it. They didn't really have the same kind of characters that on the same level. Master Chief is up there for sure, but that was it. Master Chief was it. And so they massively relied on a lot of third party and, Gears of War, Halo, Forza, some of their bigger franchises. Anyway, going forward now, Microsoft now has, obviously, ZeniMax Media, so Bethesda, all the stuff you'd expect from there, as well as now having Activision Blizzard and owning all that, or will be owning all that. That means that now Microsoft now has a ton of characters, a ton of popular franchises that have a long history, which now means that they're if each of these games wanted to make a Smash Bros. Clone, let's just take Nintendo out of the way. Sony tried it, maybe it wasn't a great game, but they had characters, they had things like that. Microsoft can do this now. Microsoft, when this is all said and done, can make a big crossover game, because they own all these characters. Obviously this is a big balls move, buying a company like Activision Blizzard. And it's crazy to think that, Microsoft own, here's Doom, but here's StarCraft. It's bonkers. Now, my biggest hope, and this is why I think that maybe they've been bought, was because all the bad rap that's been going on for Activision Blizzard, the reason why I stopped playing the game, stopped covering anything about them, was because of the way they were treating their workers, and it's been constantly, new information has been coming out, for months. For the last 6 months this has been going on. It's been going on for longer, but, it feels like the last 6 months we've heard stuff, every month, what Bobby Kotick has said, the board, the way certain people were treating people. It was disgusting. Now, I think because of that, Microsoft has stepped in and put in an offer, which probably was cheaper than what Activision Blizzard probably wanted to sell. I can't imagine they wanted to. They probably wanted a lot more money. But this is what they got. This is what the hand they were dealt, because now people will have this hope that Phil Spencer and the other people there will step in and resolve these issues. They will make these places a better working place. That's the pipe dream. That's what people want to see. We want Microsoft to step in, get rid of the board of directors on Activision, get rid of Bobby Kotick, put in new people, put in measures to make sure that the people working there, the teams, all the different studios are actually being treated well, being paid well, all this sort of stuff, right? I think that's how some people are saying. Now, I don't know whether that's going to be the case or not, right? I want that to be the case. I don't want these people at Activision Blizzard being, discriminated against or harassed. That's just never okay. And we know that all of the big companies have had their internal letters, and now we've seen that Microsoft have bought them. Now, this is definitely a deal that must have been going on for a few months. This isn't something that's just suddenly happened. It's like, oh, we're going to buy them. Now, this has got to be at least 6 months in the making as well, I reckon. Or, for a period of time. It can't have just been, they've done it in January and that's it. I think that obviously been going on before that. But yeah, it's scary. It's scary because it means that Microsoft is getting a big chunk of these games, and Call of Duty being the biggest one, I guess World of Warcraft as well, but that wasn't really on consoles. But Call of Duty being this big franchise, are Microsoft going to play ball? Are they going to still put that on a PlayStation? Who knows? Now, so the good stuff we've got so far that can come from this, right? So yes, Activision Blizzard, hopefully sort that out. Secondly, Game Pass has just become even more insane for value. Microsoft, they're doing this because they want Game Pass to be their future. They're making a loss on it at the moment. They've just announced they've got 25 million subscribers, me being one of them. This is insane. And so, they're looking less so at the hardware now and more so at where can people play these games on what platforms, whether that be a phone, a TV, a console, a PC. They've got a plan, they're sticking to it, and this is all part of that plan. So now, if I was 10 years old and I could only have one console, why wouldn't you get an Xbox? Game Pass's value for someone who's like 10 years old who doesn't have a lot of money and their parents don't mind spending maybe £10 a month or whatever it is, that's insane. And it's even got even more insane. The Halo straight in there. Forza straight in there. Brand new games. You don't have to pay a penny for them. You just literally pay for this subscription, right? And if that's the only subscription you have, you can't deny that Game Pass is its value. And now that you've got StarCraft and Call of Duty and Crash Bandicoot, which is weird, and all these other games that were owned by Activision Blizzard going in there as well, like that's insane. That's really insane to me. Obviously, it's meant to be ending next year, sometime in the summer next year. When a deal's done. So that's crazy. That's crazy to think that this thing's got even bigger. Like, it's actually nuts. I will go through. In fact, I will tell you right now what Microsoft now own when this deal closes, right? This is every big series that Microsoft now owns, right? So this is definitely a contender with both Sony and Nintendo. Age of Empires, Banjo-Kazooie, Battletoads, Call of Duty, Candy Crush, Crash Bandicoot, Deathloop, Diablo, Dishonored, Doom, Fable, Fallout, Forza Horizon, Forza Motorsport, Gears of War, Geometry Wars, I love Geometry Wars, Guitar Hero, Halo, Hearthstone, Hellblade, Flight Simulator, Solitaire, Minecraft Dungeons, Overwatch, Perfect Dark, Pillars of Eternity, Psychonauts, Quake, Sea of Thieves, Skylanders, Spyro the Dragon, StarCraft, State of Decay, Elder Scrolls, The Outer Worlds, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, Wasteland, Wolfenstein, World of Warcraft / Warcraft. Now, that's not every single thing, that's just on IGN they have a thing here that says what are their biggest franchises when the deal closes. You can't tell me that's not an impressive amount of studios and franchises. Mind-blowing quality right there in a lot of those games. So that's, if you are growing up in today's age and and you do want a video game console and your parents don't mind paying a subscription, Game Pass is absolutely the best value you can get right now, because games on these consoles now are very expensive. It's why I'm a big advocate for the second-hand market for physical. If you can get games second-hand, all good, right? Just do it. It's cheaper. Save yourself some money. And also, I think the third thing that really comes from this is now Microsoft is seen and Xbox is seen as this. We had the 360 era where they did really well. They massively flopped with the Xbox One. They're turning things around right now with the Xbox Series. People will start taking them seriously now. Like Microsoft, they're a force to be reckoned with right now. Getting all this stuff in, people aren't just going to look at them. Now, I have seen a few people saying about this, like this whole console war thing. We need to get away from this console war thing because it's utter bullshit. Like, oh, Microsoft won and all that stuff. Like, no, let's get away from that. Like, Microsoft and Sony are always going to be competitors. They can work together, right? If Microsoft and Nintendo can work together, Sony and Microsoft can as well. And deals can be made, right? It does mean that Sony is in a very difficult place now because they will no longer have Call of Duty. We don't know this at the moment, right? But in years to come, probably not next year, but in 2024... are Microsoft going to be like, yeah, you can still have Call of Duty, or are they going to be like, no, you have to have Game Pass, let's put Game Pass on the PlayStation and you can have all these games. So there is that, potentially. So it depends what they want to do. Like, people get funny about Microsoft buying these companies in exclusivity, but Sony have done the same in the past. And it's like, not Sony aren't going to start putting their games on a Microsoft platform. They do put them on PC now, but they're not going to put them on a Microsoft console. Like, it's just odd. Nintendo Microsoft is different because you have a lot of games like Ori and the Blind Forest and things like that, and Cuphead that were Microsoft exclusive coming to Switch, but a lot of those studios wanted to do that. Phil Spencer, to be fair, was open to that. He might not be open to that going forward, but at the time, he was open to it. So that's the good stuff. And before we go into the bad stuff, I just want to point out just how many studios each of these companies has, right? So So Nintendo has 21 first-party studios, right? They also have 14 second-party studios. Now, I can't find this number for any of Sony or Microsoft, but if you don't know, a second-party company is essentially a company that just does a lot of deals with, like, let's say Nintendo, like Intelligent Systems, the guys that make Fire Emblem, the guys that make Paper Mario, the guys that make Advance Wars. They're not owned by Nintendo, but they have, like, what they call it. They call it the affiliate program, but essentially it's a second-party studio. They just make games pretty much for Nintendo. That's how that works. So Nintendo has 21 first-party studios and 14 second-party studios. So that's quite a lot. They've built up a lot of what do you call it? A lot of just relationships with people. They're also obviously very good friends with Bandai Namco and Bandai Namco. A lot of the Japanese studios, they do a lot of work like with Capcom and stuff like that as well. Sony has 20 first-party studios. And Microsoft, before this deal, had 23 first-party studios, and apparently, buying Activision Blizzard puts that up to 34 studios. Now, let's also not forget that the end of the financial year, I believe, is coming up anyway, so Microsoft probably wanted to spend money. But what we have here is Microsoft with a massive amount of studios now, which hopefully will be making a lot of these franchises. I hope they're not just going to be like support studios. I hope they're going to be making Crash, Spyro, Tony Hawk's, a lot of those games that Activision obviously has now, or had, and we'll be working on other games like that, because that's what we want to see. We want to see that this is going to lead to new games in franchises that Microsoft now owns. But we know that Microsoft aren't going to stop there. This comes to the bad part of it. Now, something that I did look up, or found out, I believe there's an article on IGN saying about that they were talking to like an anti-monopoly expert had said that Microsoft at the time owned, before the buy, was like 6 or 8% of the overall gaming market. Buying Activision Blizzard makes it 10%. When you see it in that numbers and you realise that you have mobile, Nintendo, and Sony, and whatever else is going on, 10% isn't a huge amount. So this particular buying, I can't imagine would be a problem. Now, if Microsoft walked in and bought Sony or Nintendo, that's when it becomes a problem, because then you're suddenly going to have a massive chunk of the market now. But I think this is going to be one of those things where it really is, we're going to see Microsoft buy more studios in the future. Who and what they buy is going to massively depend on how much that number goes up. But this is, that's still a big purchase. It's an insane amount of money. So yeah, companies buying all the studios, and this is something we've been seeing the last couple of years with Microsoft and Sony, where they've been going on a bit of a purchase spree of making a lot of these like first-party studios, and that's fine. I don't think it's an issue when it's like smaller studios, but imagine Sony now walks in and buys EA or buys Ubisoft. Like this whole it's okay to have exclusives. Every console should have exclusive. They got Halo, they've got God of War, and Nintendo have got Mario and Zelda, right? That's good, because that's it means that each of these companies has to put as much effort to make these quality products, these quality consoles, for people to get, to come and get involved and purchase things on their platforms. Like I know a lot of people that have PCs that aren't interested in the consoles, but they'll have a Switch, because they like playing Nintendo games. You're not going to get them anywhere else. Whereas, like Sony are bringing their games over, Microsoft bring a lot of their games over now. Like that. But buying up all these companies is bad. Like, I don't want to see, like, literally a massive split between, like, Sony has X, Y, and Z, Microsoft has X, Y, and Z, and none of these games and companies are on everything. You know, I want to see stuff on Switch, PlayStation, and Xbox. I want to see stuff on PC, Switch, PlayStation, and Xbox. Mobile, you know, all these, everywhere, right? That's better. That's better for everybody. If you can play these games everywhere, great. So that's bad. Third-party industry, like Ubisoft, like EA. Say what you want about the companies. Yeah, they're shitty companies, but like EA, Ubisoft, THQ Nordic, you know, these companies that are, like I said, independent third-party AAA studios should be left like that. They don't. I don't want to see those three companies bought up. If they get bought up, then what have we got left? Mostly Japanese companies. And we know that because Microsoft are going to keep buying or have bought, Sony will retaliate with other things. Sony, to be fair, could step in and buy, let's say EA or Ubisoft for like over billions or whatever. They wouldn't do it, right? But I'm pretty confident the next big purchase will be Japanese studios. We've got Sega, we've got Capcom, we've got Bandai Namco. Those are just some of the biggest ones over there. Obviously Nintendo, but I'll get onto that in a minute. I could see. Well, actually, I could see Microsoft buying one of them more than Sony. Sony seem to be stepping away from purchasing, you know, the Japanese market, focusing more on the Northern American and European markets. So maybe Sony steps in and buys THQ Nordic. That's a lot of studios under your belt then. That would be a big purchase. But maybe for Microsoft, you know, people, there was rumours they were going to buy Sega. Be a good purchase. You'd get a lot of the Sega content there. You'd also get a lot of Atlas. You know, it's a big thing there. But yeah, there's this idea that, you know, Activision Blizzard was 68 point whatever it was billion. Nintendo themselves are about 70 to 71 billion. Like that's their like profit revenue. That's how they're seen. Would Microsoft buy Nintendo? They've tried this in the past. Nintendo said no, and that's because Microsoft was starting out small. I think right now, absolutely not. I think Japanese studios are very stubborn. I think actually Microsoft would have more chance in buying Platinum Games, something like that, like a smaller studio in Japan, than they would some of the bigger ones. I could see Microsoft buying Capcom. I could see Microsoft buying Sega, but Nintendo, no. And the reason for that is the Switch. This little thing here has been doing Nintendo far too well. It's made them a lot of money. Nintendo step into that platform. Nintendo step into mobile is making them far too much money where they don't need or probably don't want to be part of Microsoft. And I don't know whether, I mean, that could potentially be antitrust laws like with that, because that might be too big of a chunk of the market for them, to Microsoft to own. I think Microsoft and Nintendo would do better to just play nice with each other with the games that they have. You know, Minecraft and some of the other games on there. Like, there's this rumor about GoldenEye ending up on Xbox. Now, we know that Nintendo own that game. There has to be a discussion there for them to have that. So I think those companies will more likely to play nice to each other. But do I think right now Microsoft will buy them? No. 10 years? Probably not. If this was the Wii U era, I think that conversation would be much more likely. But Nintendo have made so much money, been super successful. I'm pretty sure they've hit the 100 million mark sold with the Switch now. That they're not gonna entertain that idea. I just don't think that's how they work. Japanese culture is different to the American one. Like, I think if they were gonna buy Nintendo, you're looking at least 100 billion deal. I reckon it would be a lot of money. It would be an insane amount of money. But I just don't think Microsoft needs to buy Nintendo. I mean, I can understand why they would have some of the biggest franchises in gaming ever, but I think at that point it's just kind of like, oh, this is not good. But I don't see it. I see them buying Japanese studios, but I don't see them buying the likes of Nintendo. I just don't think that's going to happen. Maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe I'll be wrong, and in 10 years' time they do. But I just don't see it happening. But I think that the saddest and most scary thing is be prepared for a lot of these studios that are still out there to be bought up by Sony and by Microsoft, and it's going to be a big dick-waving competition going forward. It's as simple as that, you know. And that's a shame, because I like it when studios are independent and they work. Second parties and third parties are great. They get to do what they want. You know, they can have deals and work alongside Sony or Microsoft or Nintendo, or they can just make games for whoever, and that's great. And the reason why this is, you know, obviously a hot topic is that Activision Blizzard has a lot of massive franchises. And on top of that, all the crap that was going on with them. So it's gonna be interesting to see how this ends up. That's basically my thoughts on it. Like I'm sitting on the fence on that. I see, as somebody who could only buy one console. Now I'm on the, like, I like all I'm a massive console gamer. Right? I only have a Switch, but if I had the money, I'd probably have like a PS4 and an Xbox Series and a PS5, and you know, a lot of people are seeing the Xbox Series as like a bit pointless, but I massively disagree. I think people overestimate just how much people still play consoles over a PC. Like, don't get me wrong, PC gaming is huge, but a console, you just plug in and play, and you just download the games on it, and there's no, you're not building it, you're not having to check all the different components work and different games run well on one and all this other. Like, you buy an Xbox Series S or an Xbox Series X, you know that whatever you download is going to be exactly the same as whoever else has got a version. That's kind of that plug-and-play mentality that doesn't really exist anymore, but that's basically the thing with a console. You spend like 300 quid on a console, and then you get Game Pass for like 10 to 12 quid a month. You can't argue with that. That's some of the best value in gaming there is right now, right? And that's Microsoft's long-term goal, is to make it the best. Like, they want hundreds of millions of subscribers on it, so that's what they're aiming for, and that's what they're doing, and making these decisions on how do they get there. You do that by having some of the biggest franchises. Call of Duty, if you didn't know this, back in the 360 days, was like, probably that's where most people played it. And then PS4 came out and it switched, and Sony basically wanted all the exclusivity for that. And now Microsoft just came along and went, no, fuck you, we're finally going to take that back and have that, you know, on our platform. So yeah, it's a crazy time we live in. It is a crazy time we live in. But there you go. There's my thoughts on it. You know, see what you know. I'm sure everyone has their own personal thoughts on that. Just be aware that this is good and bad potentially. I'm definitely on the fence of where I sit on it. I hope that we stop seeing companies bought this year. Like, I don't like, at least the big boys, because that's a scary thought if we suddenly lose EA and Ubisoft, despite me not liking those companies. But like, don't sell. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this video. As always, if you like this video, hit like. If you want to see more content like this, hit subscribe. Links for Facebook and Twitter will be down below in the description as always. And until next video, I'll see you then.